In a new type of video on GlobeTrotting, I'll be exploring a specific series or aircraft and how it came about. Let me know if you'd like to see more of this down below in the comments. In the meantime though, subscribe and help GlobeTrotting hit 25,000. Beginning with the Boeing 787 to launch this new series. It's an incredibly well-known and popular aircraft that sparked the next era of travel. As someone growing up in the 2000s, it was also undoubtedly the first aircraft that I can remember that was new and flashy and I think caught the eyes of many. There was just something about it. But what is its story and intended purpose? We must head back to before the turn of the century to find that out. Preparation for aircraft starts long before they're rolled out and to production or even delivered. For an aircraft plotted as being a game changer early on, you can imagine just how much emphasis was put on getting the 787 right from the offing. Off the back of a strong 747 and 767 program, these were ultimately also nearing the end of their highest order peak phase. Boeing therefore needed to find ways to adapt, and the 777 was a very good step in the right direction. So while we did see experimental designs that were floated around for seemingly ludicrous 747s, they ultimately wouldn't eventuate. And Boeing instead moved ahead with a 787 program in the early 2000s after a lot of deliberation. There could and definitely will be a video at some point covering the 787. However, very generally put, the program was launched with the sole ambition of having a plane that would not only be fantastic for the environment, this being an increasingly more significant concern when building aircraft around this time, but also for customers that selected it for their fleets, they'd see staggering benefits to efficiency, economics, and everything else in between. Boeing for decades were always so focused on quad-engined aircraft, the only real aircraft capable of, say, doing long-haul missions, and the 767 really helped change aviation. It was then with the launch of the 777 that cemented the possibilities that could be achieved with two-engine planes, at least at Boeing. It propelled the shift in what customers believed would be adequate for their global missions. The company didn't want to necessarily outdo the 777, which at that point was pretty new to the industry and enjoying a lot of success. However, what the American plane maker did want was to improve potentially existing aircraft families in its portfolio, and while not as a direct replacement, maybe also be an alternative. With Airbus at this point also in the market and competing strongly, Boeing needed this aircraft to land on two fleet. In a relatively short amount of time, the program progressed with votes on its naming, that eventually saw Dreamliner selected. But there are actually some other names listed as well when researching, including Global Cruiser, E-Liner, and Stratoclimber. I must admit, I don't mind the first two, but I don't know how I feel about the last option. What about you? If Boeing hadn't gone for the 787 Dreamliner, which won at a global vote, which one would you have picked? Global Cruiser, E-Liner, or Stratoclimber? The Dreamliner, however, is really what it's affectionately known today, and it's a name that has certainly stuck with, even though it not being plastered everywhere like maybe it once was at its conception, it does still get used frequently. Shortly after the naming, orders started rolling in, and All Nippon Airways were the first customer to sign a deal with Boeing for the family. Earlier, as mentioned, there was the 787. Now, while this wasn't proven, the E was known by many for standing for all the things the jet would bring to the industry, and those being things starting with E, efficiency, being environmentally friendly, economics, and so on. Boeing saw this as an aircraft that would change the industry. And it did. Its outstanding efficiency and capabilities have allowed airlines to operate the family for many missions, whether this be for high-capacity driven routes, say from the coast to coast in the United States, or taking a look at completely different missions for the likes of Air New Zealand and or Qantas, who you could make the argument for are geographically challenged, being put away in the Oceania region. They're very far from major cities globally, but they're able to utilize the 787-9 and its range capabilities to take it on some of the world's longest flights, stretching over 17 hours, say from Perth to London, or even Auckland to New York. Its incredible flexibility alongside many other contributing factors, have made it a success. It has not only propelled some carriers into regions that they thought would never be possible without a single stop, but it's also been a driving force in some legacy carriers' growth plans. With 3 variants, the 7878, 7879 and 7810, for some airlines it's actually adequate enough to just be their lone long-haul aircraft of choice. And if this is possible, then you know you have a good aircraft on your hands. The one-piece carbon fibre fuselage has driven outstanding efficiency for the program too, paired with 2 engine options which include the Trent 1000 and the GENX, while the earlier would cause severe problems later down the line for the type, including groundings and in some cases being the undoing for many airlines. It's still on its day good, and when operating as intended, brings fantastic performance. Customers can only ask for these in modern engineering such as this. Inside the aircraft, however controversial regarding their controls and impact on passenger experience, the cabin windows are some of the largest seen in commercial aviation, offering more natural light, and there are other features inside of there as well. LEDs to improve jet lag, fantastic air filter systems, and much more. Although, the cockpit looks like something out of Star Wars when it was first revealed. The new electrical components mean it was really the next era of flight, with controls, large LCDs, and everything else in between to give it a massive modern boost. The 787 Dreamliner was the answer for Boeing to advance in the industry with a new piece of engineering. The company utilized studies for other aircraft concepts that never got off the ground and compiled all its knowledge, research, and experimentation into this Dreamliner, which, yes, while it's had its fair share of hiccups down the road, primarily related to, most recently, quality assurance difficulties inside the factory and even with suppliers, it does remain an impressive aircraft, and one that's on its day and problem-free is a driving force for operators to utilize on their network globally. What's something else that is also incredibly noteworthy to take from all of this is how, while concept aircraft may never actually get in the sky and may only be discussed for a year, those discussions always remain within a company. And when it comes to producing a new aircraft type, potentially exploring a different variant, sometimes even if it's only, say, a minimal component from a previous design that was discussed, they can take that and apply it to their next aircraft. That's why designing, research, playing around with whatever you do can always be beneficial for future projects down the line, even at the time, if you think such a concept that you've created for whatever it may just be a bust. What are your thoughts on the Boeing 787? And if you'd like to see this again with another aircraft type, you can also drop which one you'd like to see below. Thank you very much for watching, take care and be safe. The ultimate reality is that this could be a 50-minute video discussing all the ins and outs, but I wanted to try and keep it as compact as possible, and as with the entire DJ's Aviation brand, which does stretch to GlobeTrotting, told in a way that can be easy to understand for people of any knowledge level. Really trying to open up the industry to as many people as possible. Thanks again, take care, and I'll see you in a couple days for more aviation analysis.
And we'll fly.